Yo, what up, everybody? It's Blessed Mindset. We back with another YouTube video. Yo, today, today we got another video to react to. And this guy right here, this is my guy Carl Jung. We about to go ahead and watch this video on how Carl Jung's archetypes are and what they is and how they work and the definitions of an archetype, you know. And I actually want to pull up a quick definition of an archetype, right? Cuz I want you guys to understand the definition of an archetype before we start this video. Carl Jung archetype. So, if we look at this definition right here, let's see if we could just get the Merriam-Webster definition. In fact, we're just going to do this. Carl Jung's archetypes are universal symbolic patterns residing in the collective unconscious, shaping human behavior, culture, and perception. Right? The collective conscious is the idea of all of us humans. You know, we're all combined together in this spiritual way, right? And there are certain patterns in which humans take on different forms, such as the hero myth or the like right here, the shadow side, right? We all have these innate patterns that manifest into the physical realm, right? This is more it's symbolic, it's spiritual, it's so many different ideas and metaphysical theories, right, that are very, very important to know, because you can see that when you meet somebody, you can see if these people got that spirit in them, right? Right? It comes down to like the idea of the hero myth. Who's the hero? Right? Martin Luther King had this spirit to him, right? To save the world. And people like Mother Teresa, right? She had these traits. She was very compassionate, caring, loving, and the archetype she was taken on was called the Great Mother, right? A lot of mothers take on this very compassionate role, caring role, right? And nurturing. So Carl Jung states that these archetypes are innate in all of us humans, right? But once we find who we truly are, that's when we can go ahead and become that archetype, right? And we gonna see throughout the video, man. You know what I'm saying? We gonna see. But that's just a quick overview. This video should explain it much more than I actually can.
Is the mind of a newborn a blank slate, awaiting stimuli and input from the world to obtain structure and form? Or does it have a preformed structure which influences how we experience the world? This question has long interested psychologists and philosophers alike. Carl Jung, the 20th century psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, believed the latter to be the case. There exist, according to Jung, identical psychic structures common to all, which
Yes, I should have used that word. It's psychological traits. Psychological traits, guys.
are heritable and influence the way all humans experience the world. Jung called these structures archetypes, and in this video we will provide a detailed introduction to archetypes, explaining what they are, how they influence our lives, their relationship to symbols, and Jung's ideas on the connection between religious experiences and the archetypes. Carl Jung, in addition to being a practicing psychiatrist, was one of the foremost experts on the study of religious and mythological symbology. It was work in both these fields that led him to the discovery of the archetypes. In studying the myths and religions of cultures past and present, Jung noticed that many of them shared similar patterns, themes, and symbols. This was interesting in its own right, but what further piqued Jung's curiosity was that some of these same themes and symbols arose in the dreams and fantasies of patients who suffered from schizophrenia. What could account for such similarities? Jung proposed that the human mind, or psyche, is not exclusively the product of personal experience, but rather contains elements which are pre-personal or transpersonal and common to all. These elements he called the archetypes, and he proposed that it is their influence on human thought and behavior that gives rise to the similarities between the various myths and religions. To properly understand the role of the archetypes, we must first explain Jung's conception of the psyche. Jung described the psyche as one's total personality, encompassing all one's thoughts, behaviors, feelings, and emotions. Jung divided the psyche into three major realms: consciousness, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious.
Ah, man, I forgot about these terms. I was reading some Eric Neumann. If you guys read Eric Neumann's book, the origins and history of consciousness, he breaks down these theories, and he's as credible as you can get, guys. He was a Jungian psychologist, and he actually studied under Carl Jung. His books was forwarded by that nigga Carl Jung.
These three realms are not closed off from one another, but constantly interact in a compensatory manner. The conscious realm is simply one's field of awareness, consisting of those psychic contents that one has knowledge of. In other words, any experience that enters one's field of awareness takes on the quality of consciousness. The conscious realm of the psyche, while extremely important,
the conscious realm is the realm where you're aware. Oh, I'm aware that I am picking up this speaker. The unconscious realm is things that I do when I'm not thinking about it. Right? So people just be abusing that word like conscious and unconscious. Like niggas be like, "Oh yeah, you're unconscious." It's like, fuck you mean, nigga? We all have unconscious states, you dumb fuck.
in its own right, is, according to Jung, dwarfed in scope by the unconscious realm. The unconscious consists of those psychic contents which one is unaware of, and Jung divided it into two main parts: the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. The personal unconscious, as the name suggests, is particular to each individual. It consists of events of one's life that are deemed insignificant, are forgotten, or are repressed due to their distressing nature. In addition to the personal unconscious, there is a deeper and more fundamental realm of the unconscious, which Jung called the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious consists of psychic structures or cognitive categories which are not unique to the individual, but rather shared by all, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and the way we look at the world.
I love this definition more than my definition. My definition was off the top of my brain. But they are shared by all, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and the way we look at the world. So it's innate for humans to have a drive. So the question is, what is your drive gonna be? That's why there's like niggas like Adolf Hitler, like that actually like pursue something, but they get possessed by that spirit of evilness, the spirit of conquering others and destruction, right? But we all have that side to us. It's just our shadow side, right? But the idea is to be aware of your shadow side, just so you capable of conquering that, so you're able to go out and find the archetype in which you were meant to be. And that's like the idea of like fate. Like, not everybody's supposed to be the hero, right? You got your own journey. Like, I don't even identify myself with like the hero archetype. I'd be identifying myself with like the philosopher, because I love philosophy. I'll be a philosopher archetype, right? Niggas like Immanuel Kant, niggas like Plato, right? Niggas like Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, like these niggas I like to study. So I'll be more of the philosopher archetype. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Carl Jung made that assertion like there's a philosopher archetype, but I'm just trying to give you an example. If there was an archetype for wisdom, it'll be like Thoth, like niggas, you know, like the god of wisdom, like that impacts me more than me being like, oh, I'm like fucking Jesus Christ, the fucking hero that saves the world. Like, but that's just me. You have to find who you are so you're capable of finding the archetype in which you are supposed to become.
In other words, the collective unconscious is home to the archetypes. As Jung put it, from the unconscious there emanate determining influences, which, independently of tradition, guarantee in every single individual a similarity and even a sameness of experience, and also of the way it is represented imaginatively. Jung's student, Erich Neumann, used the analogy of physical...
Why just bring up this nigga Norman, bro? This nigga's a fucking legend.
Organs to help illuminate the concept of the archetypes. Just as a body is structured by organs which are largely formed prior to birth, so the mind possesses psychic organs which structure it, i.e. the archetypes. Furthermore, just as the physical organs in most cases operate without one's conscious awareness, so do the archetypes. And most importantly, just as adequately functioning physical organs are essential for a healthy body, a healthy mind is reliant on the proper functioning of the archetypes.
Wow. So basically what they're saying is that you know how, you know, if you got a bad heart, right, that can make you very sick. But what Erich Neumann is saying is that if you have a bad psychological structure, you're gonna become a amoral person, a not good person, or get corrupted by a corrupted archetype. I remember reading this shit too in his book, The Origins and History of Consciousness. I was like, damn, those psychological structures are just important as your physical structures.
As Neumann explains, the archetypal structural elements of the psyche are psychic organs, upon whose functioning the well-being of the individual depends, and whose injury has disastrous consequences. An important difference between the physical organs and the archetypes is that while physical organs can be directly observed with the senses, the archetypes cannot. The existence of archetypes is revealed by the arrangements they produce in consciousness, namely through the manifestation of symbolic imagery. It is only through the interpretation of the symbols manifested by the archetypes that one can gain an understanding of the archetypal pattern of the human mind. Edward Edinger, in his work Ego and Archetype, provides an explanation of what a symbol is with respect to Jungian psychology by contrasting it to a sign. A sign is a token of meaning that stands for a known entity. By this definition, language is a system of signs, not symbols. A symbol, on the other hand, is an image or representation which points to something essentially unknown, a mystery. A sign communicates abstract, objective meaning, whereas a symbol conveys living, subjective meaning.
Ooh, a sign communicates abstract, objective meaning, whereas a symbol conveys living, subjective meaning. Wow, because when you get a sign from God, it's like, oh shit. It's like, hold on, I gotta take this serious. God is trying to tell me something, or the universe is trying to tell me something. But when it comes down to a symbol, it tends to be more personal. It's like, hold on, like I'm identifying with this person, this symbol. I'm identifying with this drip, like the clothes I wear, symbolic of me being drippy. If I got this Louis belt on, it's a symbolic representation of, oh, I got dough. Symbolic representation that, you know, I got drip. It's all personal, right? But the signs is like, when you get a sign from the higher power, it's like, it's more an objective standard.
While signs, by this definition, point to definite things which exist in the world, symbols do not stand for things which exist in the physical world, but rather point to the existence of unknown elements of the psyche or patterns of the unconscious. As Jung put it, whenever we speak of symbolic contents, we move in a world of images that point to something ineffable. We do not know how clear or unclear these images, metaphors, and concepts are in respect of their transcendental object. However, there is no doubt that there is something behind these images that transcends consciousness and operates in such a way that the statements do not vary limitlessly and chaotically, but clearly all relate to a few basic principles or archetypes. It is important to point out that the archetypes do not manifest the exact same set of symbolic images for each person. Rather, the archetypes provide the structure, not the specific form, of the symbolic image. The specific form the images take differ from culture to culture and even individually.
That's
However,
true.
as Jung stated in the passage just quoted, the symbolic manifestation of the archetypes do not vary limitlessly and chaotically.
Right. So they saying that like if I was to sit here and draw a picture, right, and it's symbolic, like I created it. It's symbolic of something objective. It's something symbolic factually, right? Now it varies from culture to culture of what this symbol is, right? But it doesn't mean that it's completely subjective to the point where it's meaningless or it's just only personal. It represents something factual. We just got to ask the philosophical question of what is it representing?
Therefore, as one takes note of and reflects on the symbols as they are manifested in consciousness, knowledge of the archetypal structure of the mind can be obtained. Eric Newman describes the role of the symbol in producing knowledge of the archetypes in the following way. The form of representation peculiar to the unconscious is not that of the conscious mind. It neither attempts nor is able to seize hold of and define its objects in a series of discursive explanations, and reduce them to clarity by logical analysis. The way of the unconscious is different. Symbols gather round the thing to be explained, understood, interpreted. The act of becoming conscious consists in the concentric groupings of symbols around the object, all circumscribing and describing the unknown from many sides. Each symbol lays bare another essential side of the object to be grasped, points to another facet of meaning. Only the canon of these symbols congregating about the center in question, the coherent symbol group, can lead to an understanding of what the symbols point to and of what they are trying to express. To provide an example of the types of symbols which are manifested by the archetypes, we will look at the archetype Jung called the self. The self is the central archetype, and its role is in unifying the other archetypal structures of the psyche. According to Jung, the importance of the self archetype coincides with the fact that it is the source of many of the symbols found in religions and myths. Edward Edinger in Ego and Archetype reveals the wide array of symbols manifested by the self. The self is expressed by certain typical symbolic images called mandalas. All images that emphasize a circle with a center and usually with the additional feature of a square, cross, or some other representation of quaternity fall into this category. There are also a number of other associated themes and images that refer to the self. Such themes as wholeness, totality, the union of opposites, the central generative point, the world navel, the axis of the universe, the elixir of life, all refer to the self, the central source of life energy, the fountain of our being, which is most simply described as God. Indeed, the richest sources of the phenomenological study of the self are in the innumerable representations that man has made of the deity. What is interesting to realize is that Jung believed the various representations of deities in myths and religions, both past and present, were at root symbolic manifestations of the self archetype.
Right. So how Carl Jung looked at it is like, since Jesus mastered himself and became the person he was supposed to be, he was able to do the crazy shit in which he was doing, like healing people, shit like that. And since he became that, that's when he became God himself through his level of consciousness and self-mastery. That's how Carl Jung is looking at it.
However, Jung did not in any way mean this as a reduction of God to a product of man's mind. Rather, as he wrote, This is certainly not to say that what we call the unconscious is identical with God or is set up in his place. It is simply the medium from which religious experience seems to flow. As to what the further cause of such experience may be, the answer to this question lies beyond the range of human knowledge.
Mm.
Knowledge of God is a transcendental problem.
Yeah, transcendental problem. Transcendental problem. So since like God himself was able to uh transcend the self, right? To the highest degree, all we can do is be limits of that. So like through the Christian viewpoint is that we're made in images of God, and once we become that higher version of ourselves, we can produce the best communities. You know what I'm saying? God himself is the only one that can get to the, can transcend reality to the highest degrees.
Throughout Jung's life, he struggled with the question as to what the ultimate source of the archetypes was. At times, he suggested they arose in an evolutionary manner and were subject to change over long periods of time. The following passage reflects this view. Man possesses many things which he has never acquired, but has inherited from his ancestors. He is not born as a tabula rasa. He is merely born unconscious.
Yes, bro, that's real shit. Unconscious. And this is what Steven Pinker talks about, even though he uses it in different ways. Like Pinker would talk about like humans are capable of learning language. But it's not because like we socially construct the shit. It's because we have biological instincts that are innate in humans in which we are capable of learning language. Like that shit is fucking tight, bro. We're not born with a blank slate. Read Steven Pinker's blank slate, guys.
But he brings with him systems that are organized and ready to function in a specifically human way. And these he owes to millions of years of human development. However, Jung also had sympathy with the idea that the archetypes may be similar to the Platonic forms, existing as a type of immutable transcendental entity.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Similar to Platonic forms.
Jung wrote at one point, whether this psychic structure and its elements, the archetypes, ever originated at all, is a metaphysical question and therefore unanswerable. Whatever their ultimate source, Jung believed that the archetypes play an immense role in the lives of all individuals. By becoming increasingly aware of the archetypal patterns through the symbols they manifest in the psyche, the individual experiences an expansion of consciousness. Such an expansion, Jung believed, was of paramount importance, for as he put it, man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Neither should he persist in his unconsciousness, nor remain identical with the unconscious elements of his being, thus evading his destiny, which is to create more and more consciousness.
Damn.
As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being.
Damn. Neither should he persist in his unconscious, nor remain identical with the unconscious elements of being, thus invading his destiny. So Carl Jung is saying, the more you stay unaware of who you truly are, you will never be capable of fulfilling your destiny. Man, I fucking love this nigga Carl Jung, man. That nigga was different. Hey man, that was the end of the video, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in, man. Like we learned a lot from what archetypes is and how they are innate in our biological DNA. We're not born with a blank slate. We are born to fulfill our destinies. And once we master who we are and become the true versions of ourselves, then we can figure out which archetype we truly were meant to be and what God has placed us on this earth to do. Right? So it's very important to not be unconscious in this world. Right? You got to be aware of who you are so you're capable of mastering who you are, so you can provide the world with greatness, love, compassion, understanding, and provide the world what you truly were meant to be sent in this world, bro. And that's what it's truly about, right? And this is all what Carl Jung is talking about, guys. So remember, do not stay unconscious. You have to be aware of who you are so you can become the correct archetype. So you can provide the world love, care, compassion, and value. So thank you guys for watching this video, man. I'm going to wrap this up, man. I love y'all, man. Be safe. Peace out.